Hi, I'm Joanne, founder of Animal Communication Insights. And if you're a professional animal communicator who's been doing this work for a while, you have a website, you charge for sessions, you're visible, but if you're honest, it still doesn't quite feel like you're running a business, this series is for you. Welcome to the Animal Communication Business Series. 8 episodes, 8 shifts. The real journey from practitioner to business owner. Not theory, not just think positively. The actual path. Now, here's the thing. There's a massive difference between having clients and building a sustainable, profitable practice. I know because I've lived it. For years, I could do the work. I could connect with animals. I could help people. But the business side? Unclear, uncomfortable, inconsistent. I was reacting instead of leading, hoping instead of planning, and I knew something had to change. That's when I met Becs McNeil. Becs is a business architect who helps people design and build leveraged lifestyle businesses by monetizing their skills, knowledge, and expertise. She focuses on the stuff most of us avoid: the structure, the systems, sustainability, so you can turn your ideas into a business that supports your life rather than taking it over. I spent a year inside her membership and it streamlined everything: my systems, my planning, the way I make decisions. And that's why she's joining me for this series. Over the next 8 episodes, we're breaking down the real journey: the mindset shifts, the uncomfortable conversations, the practical structures that turn meaningful work into something that can actually support your life. And today we're starting with the very first shift, the one that changes everything. Am I willing to treat this like a business? Bex, thank you for being here, and let's dive in.
Hello, thanks, Joanne, for having me here. I'm delighted that we're going to be talking about all of this stuff. Some juicy behind the scenes conversations about what it's really like at the forefront of building that business right from the ground. So really excited.
When I look back, it's now a decade. I can say that now, 10 years into animal communication business, and I am still standing, but not with a wobble. Let's get into it. I think a lot of animal communicators don't even realize that they are already in business. So they are charging for the sessions. They've either qualified or they're self-taught and they've got lots of experiences. When someone says to you, have clients, but I'm not really running a business, what do you see?
um, it tends to be somebody who has been, like you were saying, reactive as opposed to being intentional. When we first set out to be self employed or freelance or whatever anybody wants to call it, what tends to happen is that we kind of accidentally create a business. So it's not necessarily something that they perhaps set out to do. They've just found something that they really, really love and then gone, actually, there's a business that could be alongside this, or people go, could you do this for me? Um, so when it's a natural skill, something that you've learned to do, we don't often take it very seriously. If you've got people coming to you and asking you to work for them, then you have got something that is a potential business opportunity, but people don't always recognize it because it's them and it's something that they either can do quite easily or they take for granted, I suppose, sort of skill sets. I think it's one of those things that it's really easy to just start tinkering with something without any real plan. And I see it a lot. And that's not to say that, you must have this big 10-inch business plan of what you're going to do and how you're going to do it, because I don't necessarily believe that that's the way forward either. Um, but at least having some kind of direction would be a good place to start, because otherwise, how do you know where you're going?
That's so true. Can I just share a story that's come into my mind, or a scenario to press home the point to the listeners because they'll relate to this. In animal communication in particular, and I'm sure the people that you help, because you love helping people where they have ideas and passion. And then, we have opportunities nowadays to turn ideas and passions into something that we can create income. But I love the fact that you talk about how we can accidentally fall into that world of becoming a business owner without realizing it. And animal communication, that happens so often because many of us come into animal communication not with the mindset that we want to have a business as an animal communicator, but because we love animals, we love our own animals, we might do a workshop and then people hear about it. They start asking you, can you help me with my dog? Can you help me with my cat? Can you talk to my horse? And that's really what happened to me. And then before you know it, 20 people ask you, 30 people ask you, and then somebody's going to pipe up and go, you should charge for this.
Yeah.
And that's really what happened. So, yeah, I just wanted to say that that is so true what you said about the accidental bit.
And some people don't feel very comfortable charging, and I know we're gonna get onto that. That whole kind of when somebody is gonna pay you or suggest to pay you, it kind of takes you, like, by surprise almost, that somebody would pay you for something that you very naturally do or that you are enjoying doing. Because we're not conditioned to be paid just to be ourselves. We're paid from activity and doing. So the fact that somebody would come to you and pay you for something that you'll just really easily do feels a bit alien to start with. So I totally understand how people kind of get sort of stuck almost before they've even started because they don't know where to go and what to do. They're brilliant at what they're doing, but they haven't necessarily got the knowledge or the expertise of what creating a business or running a business is and what that entails. And boy, does it entail some things that we're going to go into over the next few episodes. Um, because we're just not prepared for all the things that come up. Most people are enjoying what they do, but all of the moving parts that then start coming at them thick and fast is a bit of
Mhm.
a wake up call. And then maybe you're considering whether it is the right thing to do, whether you do go down the business route or not.
Or another scenario, which again, I can only really share my own experiences, is that it happened at around the time I was looking for a change in the direction of my. So it's kind of brought in that when somebody said to me, "Oh, you should really charge for this," because I was saying, "Wow, all these people are asking me to communicate with their animals. I hadn't thought about making money out of this." I was a self-employed aromatherapist and hypnotherapist at the time, so I was used to, in a way, I kind of already moved away from employment into self-employment.
Mhm.
But I was also getting to a point where I was thinking there was an opportunity to then consider animal communication as an income generator. So again, at
Mhm.
that point, I never ever linked the word business because it's energy work, because it's telepathic work, because it's
Yeah.
helping people. And again, we'll talk about that in our later episodes. But I think that brings in that complication where by it's uncomfortable to call it a business in the way I purposely named the series Animal Communication Business Series, just to say do not be afraid of that term because it has to be viewed as a business. It's like this accidental opportunity comes along. And for me, it was like I could use this to actually pave the path forward and leave a path that I felt it was time to release. But I
Yeah.
did not know, like you say, you can do the communication. It's like you have the skill and the ability to do the craft, but no one comes along and says, but you also need to make sure you know what it's like to create, to be intentional that this is going to be a business.
So what did treating it like a business actually change for you then day to day?
For me, it sounds so obvious, but it's not obvious. Is that treating it as a business meant I need to make a profit. I need to have some money at the end of the day after spending what it is I need to deliver the service or set up my website. Suddenly, it's like all of that came in, all the kind of front end. I was thrown into this world of, with my aromatherapy and with my hypnotherapy, I didn't have to have a website. It was
Mhm.
word of mouth. I was part of a clinic. So to me, suddenly what it meant was that I had to source either money to create a website and also be visible. That to me is also
Yeah.
what it means to be a business. But it is, I'm going to say it hasn't taken me 10 years to define that a business means you should make a profit. But I would hold my hand up and say it's likely it took me 7 years. Yeah. To grasp that. I think you kinda know you're supposed to make money because how else are you going to because I first started the animal communication as a part-time. I then took on part-time work in an office so it could fund my animal communication business once I decided that was the path I was gonna go down. Um, didn't work for me because with the employed part-time work, I was giving more energy to that.
Yeah.
And to whoever you are employed by, because they pay you,
Yeah.
you're always gonna put them first.
Yeah.
So I took a brave leap one day and just quit that because I just thought, I love this animal communication thing so much. But even at that point, I knew I'm supposed to make money. And maybe this is a question I wanna ask you. Why did I not make it a priority that I was supposed to make a profit? But I know
I
as
don't
I'm saying
know.
this
I
to
know.
you, not ev I I say this to a lot of professional communicators who come to me for mentoring, right? And they want ideas
Mhm.
to make offers and sell.
Yeah.
And I know we'll come to pricing in another episode. And I always say, "Then what are you going to be pricing at? And make sure you make a profit." And then there's always this stunned silence.
Yeah.
What
I
is that
think
about?
it's well, I'm still I mean, I've been working for myself for my eldest is 21 and Joe is now 17. So it's been about 16 years, believe it or not. Um, and I still have this conversation regularly with people because one of the first things that I always say to them when they come to me with, "Oh, I've had an idea for this thing." Um, and I'm like, "So how many do you need to sell to make the money that you want to make from it?" And like you've just said, it kind of goes a bit quiet. And I'm like, "You haven't run any numbers at all. You haven't even gone, well, even if I just charged £100 and I could, sell that to 5 people every month and make £500, that would make a difference." And they haven't even done that very, very basic thing. And I'm here talking about all these like really not complicated, but sort of further down the line things, and they haven't done the very, very basics. Um, and that still kind of shocks me. And again, like we keep saying, we will get into more of this because, you know, it's going to come along the line. But the things that are actually involved in that pricing and the things that you do need to think about. But I just think that it's it's one of those things that, again, if you get sort of swept up in it and you don't realize that this is a business, there's identity stuff that's kind of laid in here that you've got to make that leap and go, actually, I'm going to make a go of this. So like you were saying about having a part-time job to help fund it, that's almost like I'm not fully in it. I am still this other person. And so therefore that identity again gets mixed up. I think the second that you then make that switch, or the second that you realize that people will pay you for this thing that you're doing, becomes an identity thing that you have to step into. And some people are just not ready to step into that thing yet. I also think there's a lot of overcomplicated, serious sounding stuff when it comes to business. And people don't necessarily want to go down that route because what they're doing is fun and they enjoy doing it and they don't want to suck the enjoyment out of it. So I think there's so many different layers um, around it. But I would like to say it doesn't have to be all boring business stuff. As long as you've got a good handle on it, you can make things work and run with it and change things because nothing stays still forever. As you know, things change so quickly. As long as you've got a bit of an idea of the bigger picture and some idea of the direction that you want to go, you don't have to have it all laid out and every step before you take any leaps. But definitely treating it seriously is a good thing. It's definitely a good thing.
Yeah, and treating it seriously now with hindsight, number one, I would say, going back to, make sure that your intention is to make a profit. Animal
Yeah.
communication as a practice is all about intention, interestingly enough. Our intention with why we're connecting with animals, our intention with why, we're helping the human guardians of the animal. So it's not a new concept. So that's why I want to stress. So if you want to look at your animal communication as something that you're going to embrace, then and you want to create income from it, make sure the intention is to make a profit. But also for me, the intention is to call it a business. Because just picking up on what you said, often we don't like to call it the business because it feels like to us we have different associations with that word,
Mm,
particularly in the healing community. Business always can look like, "Oh, you don't care as much. You are only business minded." So, like those kind of
yeah.
sayings, you're just like walk over anybody just to make money. So I understand that in the healing community, which animal communication is part of the healing community, we've got that as one of the mindset blocks that we have. And again, I'm sure we'll be talking about that more in the other episodes. So
Because if people think it's a gift that they shouldn't be charging for it, but it's an exchange. Anything that you're doing is an exchange of time, of energy, of
mm,
intention, of all those things. And it needs to be sustainable in order for you to be able to
yeah.
keep doing that. You can't just do it and not have something coming in from that. Otherwise, you end up becoming quite resentful and not in.
Declaring that it is a business also helps other people
Yeah.
to really respect you for what you do, because that's the other thing that we worry a lot about, because people will be thinking, oh, she's charging, and is she making money out of something that she can naturally do and it's a gift and it's a
Mm,
talent? But actually, no, we're making a choice. For me, I wanted I wanted something that I could support my family, my animals,
mhm,
support my own life. And I found something that I could do to help people.
mm,
But it wasn't like, oh, I'm going to make money out of being able to communicate with animals. Because there's a difference between I wanna make money so that I can help people who are struggling versus I'm gonna make money communicating with animals. That to me is more about helping people. Yeah, so I think being able to embrace and understand that the term business is important,
mhm.
because when you say to people, "I have an animal communication business," then it's again sets the intention that you're not running a charity, and it is important that I can have money to take care of myself and my family.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that those boundaries and those the relationship that then you have with your clients takes a different form. That doesn't mean that you can't be friends. It doesn't mean that you can't enjoy working together, but it does then put into place some of those boundaries that as a human, we definitely, definitely need. As a business owner, we definitely, definitely need. Because sometimes there will be those people that keep pushing the limits. There will be people that keep asking for more. And where do you stand with those people if you can't turn around to them and say no or tell them that what's included and what's not included if you're doing favors and things all the time? So it's got to be definitely some structure to it in terms of so that people know what to expect. I think I remember when I first started out, it was again, you kind of naturally start doing the thing that you perhaps were doing when you were employed, but you don't necessarily know how to structure it or to price it or to position it to people. But the more structure that there is, the easier it is for you as a business owner to actually do the things that you need to do. It's easier for you to communicate what it is that you do. It's easier to um, ensure that you're delivering a really brilliant thing to people. Whereas if it's kind of vague and a bit this and a bit that, then they don't necessarily know what you're going to deliver, and therefore their expectations might not be met. And it just muddies the waters, I think. So as much clarity as possible about what you want to achieve, how you want to achieve it, who you want to work with, what that looks like in terms of you being supported financially for that and rewarded for it, I think is just really important so that you're not finding yourself, you know, in all sorts of trouble down the line. You set yourself up for a fall, I think, if you're not taking it seriously.
Yeah. And we need someone like yourself, Bex. I think if I, look back 10 years ago, say if I met you 10 years ago, or even let's say if I start my business today and I said to you, okay, I'm at that point where I want to view it as a business and really put things into action to tell myself it's a business, what would be the structure that you were talking about to kind of round off our conversation today? What would be kind of like the structure
I
we'd
suppose
like
it's
to
it's
go?
actually quite different for everybody because everybody's going to be building a slightly different business. I don't think there is a one size fits all structure, but what I do try and encourage people to look at is creating an ecosystem. So they're designing something that's going to suit them, but also suit their clients because their clients will go through a life cycle. They're not just going to be a one off and disappear and that's it. So the idea is that it's almost like having that jigsaw puzzle and looking at the picture on the lid and kind of what does it all look like? What does it feel like? It's got to be based on their terms. So, what time have they got available? What energy have they got in terms of capacity? What relationships? Who do they want to work with? What money do they want to actually earn from this? What is their situation? So, I call it terms because it's time, energy, relationships, money, and situation. So we
Oh,
start with that. Absolutely. You've got to, somebody who has lots of animals, lots of children, perhaps doesn't have the capacity of somebody who doesn't have those things. Somebody who maybe has elderly parents to look after doesn't have necessarily the same availability of time or income or whatever it might be as somebody else. So everything has to be looked at very individually, but within that range. We start there, absolutely. Because if you're telling me you've got 10 hours a week to build this business, then we have to work within those boundaries. And if you're telling me that you want to work with people in person as opposed to working with people online, we have to take that into consideration. That's where I would start, absolutely. So it opens up that conversation. And again, people don't necessarily think of these things. They don't realize that they can't achieve quite as much as they thought they could in those 10, 20 hours a week or whatever they're working, and whether they could build it on the side of their part-time job or their full-time job and how much and how long that's going to take them. That's definitely where we would start. The other thing I would always start with is really the who. It's not so much the what, because as far as I'm concerned, you can kind of sell anything to anybody, but you need to have those people in order to be able to sell it to. And so many people come to me with ideas of things they could create, things that they could, but unless they know that somebody's willing to buy that in the first instance, then it's kind of an idea of an idea of an idea. So we have to ground that in some reality. And I'm like, okay, so who have you got that's ready to buy that? Who have you heard wants that? Who's got that problem that you're solving? Because until we have those people, you can spend your time building things and offering things, but there's nobody to buy them. So it's better to, in my eyes anyway, to kind of sell first and then build something later. So who have we got? What is already presenting itself? And start with those kind of easy steps, really. You don't have to go into some great big, like I say, big long plan of what you're going to do over 10 years, but at least have some idea of what you want to do initially and go from there.
very sound advice. So to avoid the danger of delving into another juicy topic, I think we've covered quite a lot already to plant the seed. I want to say to the listeners in a very compassionate tone, are you ready to take yourself seriously?
Mm.
Because it is serious business, but it doesn't mean it's boring serious or bad serious. But it's so important to take ourselves seriously when we want to move our passion, move to doing what we love, and giving ourselves permission to create income, to have a business,
Mm.
doing what we love. I think at the end of the day, isn't that all or what we all want is to
Yeah.
love what we do and not like, lucky me, I make money out of it, but no, to set the intention. And I would say you and myself are testament to that. We are doing what we love with the intention, even if it's taken me many years to, and I'm going to say it, make a profit, not just create
Mm.
income, because you can create income and then realize you've also spent a lot of money. So
Yeah.
make a profit. So
Yeah.
are we happy to count off what we've talked
Yeah.
today? 'Cause
Absolutely.
we've got so much. That's why we made it into, 8 episodes. So for you listeners, here's what I want you to take away from today. If you're already working professionally, i.e., you are charging for your sessions, then guess what? You are already in business. The only question is whether you are running it intentionally. Everything we've talked about today is possible for you, but watching this series is not the same as building it. And building it alone is harder than it needs to be. If you want to stay connected with me and follow my journey as a professional animal communicator, then come onto my Substack platform or also my YouTube. And if you're thinking I need help with the business structure side of things, that's exactly what Bex does. Her membership is where I learned how to build systems, create sustainability, and stop running my practice reactively. And you'll find the details below. Your gift matters. This work matters, and it deserves to be sustainable. We'll see you in the next episode.